The Stoic view on facing your fears. Fear is something we all feel. It does not matter who you are or where you come from. Fear is part of being human. But the Stoics, the ancient philosophers like Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius, had a different way of looking at fear. They did not run from it. They did not let it control them. Instead, they faced it. They studied it. They used reason to understand it. And in doing so, they found a way to live bravely, even when fear was near. Let me tell you a story. Imagine a man named Lucius. He was a merchant in ancient Rome. He had a good life, a family, and a successful business. But one day, a storm destroyed his ships at sea. All his goods were lost. He owed money to many people. Fear took hold of him. Fear of losing everything. Fear of shame. Fear of the future. He did not know what to do. Lucius had heard of Stoicism, but had never practiced it deeply. In his despair, he decided to visit a Stoic teacher. The teacher listened to his troubles, and then asked him a simple question. What is the worst that can happen? Lucius thought for a moment. I could lose my wealth. My family could suffer. I might become poor. The teacher nodded. And if these things happen, will you die? Lucius shook his head. No, I will not die. The teacher smiled. Then the worst is not so bad. You will still be alive. You will still have your mind. You can still choose how to act. This was the first lesson. The Stoics believe that most of our fears are about things that have not happened yet. We imagine the worst, and our minds make the fear bigger than it needs to be. But if we stop and ask what is the worst that can happen, we often find that we can survive it. Lucius went home and thought about this. He realized that his fear was not just about losing money. It was about losing his pride. He was afraid of what people would think of him. This was the next lesson. Fear is often tied to our desire for control. We want to control how others see us. We want to control our future. But the Stoics taught that much of life is not in our control. The storm was not in Lucius's control. What people thought of him was not in his control. The only thing he could control was his own actions and his own mind. So Lucius made a decision. He would face his fears step by step. First, he spoke honestly with those he owed money to. Some were angry, but others respected his honesty. Next, he started rebuilding his business, but this time he did not put all his trust in wealth. He began to practice Stoicism daily. He reminded himself that his worth was not in his money, but in his character. Months passed. Lucius worked hard, but he also learned to accept whatever came his way. Some days were good. Some were bad. But he no longer feared the bad days as he once had. He understood that fear was just a feeling, and feelings could be mastered. One evening, he returned to the Stoic teacher. I am not afraid anymore, he said. The teacher shook his head. Do not lie to yourself. Fear will always come. But now you know how to face it. That is the difference. This is the Stoic view on fear. It is not about never feeling afraid. It is about not letting fear control you. The Stoics practiced what they called Premeditatio Malorum, which means the premeditation of evils. They would imagine the worst-case scenarios and ask themselves, and the answer was almost always yes. Seneca wrote letters about this. He said that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Our fears are often shadows, not real dangers. But if we face them, we see them for what they are. Epictetus, who was born a slave, knew suffering well. He said, "It is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things. A shipwreck is just an event. It is our thoughts about the shipwreck that create fear. If we change our thoughts, we change our fear. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor, faced wars and plagues. In his private writings, he reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." So what can we learn from this? Fear is natural, but we do not have to be ruled by it. We can ask, what is the worst that can happen? We can accept what we cannot control. We can focus on what we can control, our actions, our thoughts, our character. The next time fear comes, do not run. Stand firm. Ask yourself, is this fear real, or is it just in my mind? Can I endure even the worst outcome? You will find that you are stronger than your fears. This is the Stoic way. This is the path to courage. Lucius lived the rest of his life with this understanding. He was not free from trouble, but he was free from the tyranny of fear. And that made all the difference.